Can I rank your life achievements? So the greatest thing you've ever done is win the Sword of Gideon competition in February of 2025. The second greatest thing you ever did was marry Jessica. The third greatest
It's a
thing
good thing
you ever did,
she doesn't listen to the podcast.
and your children fall in line under that. That's
Okay,
the whole
naturally.
package deal. Third greatest thing you ever done, 101 subscribers on YouTube. Congratulations, David Buchs.
Hey, way to go. Way to go. Wish we could have a bottle of champagne together.
That'd be
This is
that'd be nice.
this is a celebratory day for all of our devoted followers too. It's not easy. I mean, that's not a small thing that you've undertaken. Subscribe to our channel and to listen to these episodes. So way to go, folks. Nicely done.
I was fully expecting once we got to 100 that people would start unsubscribing just because they knew our public goal. We wanted 101 by the end of the year. It's February. I mean, we're doing great.
Yeah. Do we need to reset? Do we need to start do we need a next goal? Because this is exponential growth. You described that a little while ago. We went from like 25 on January 1 to 101. That's fourfold growth in a month and a half.
Well, my model is a little bit off because in that first week of our exponential growth after the Tim Wood episode, we were 256% growth. So I projected 500,000 subscribers within 7 weeks, and
Yep.
I don't think we're at 7 weeks yet. I mean,
it's possible.
I'm saying there's a chance.
I don't think we're producing the right kind of content to drive that listenership, but you never know. I mean, you never know.
Well, this would be helpful. Listeners, put in the comments what would drive 500,000 subscribers. What kind of content do the people want to see? And we may or may not listen.
Yeah, we are maintaining our independence 100%. We don't we don't care what anybody thinks.
That's right.
But we would like to know.
So somebody asked me on Friday, hey, whose idea was the podcast? Was it yours or was it Pastor Buchs? And my first initial reaction was, well, it was mine, of course. But then I got to thinking about it, and I think it was both of our ideas. So I wanted to start a podcast. You wanted to start a podcast. Your idea was to start a very academic disputation-like podcast where we bring a couple different guys on who had very publicly different views in the Missouri Synod and try to bring them together to talk about it, right? Have a educated, smart discussion on why we're having these differences and maybe try to come to some kind of consensus using the Bible. Instead, what we got is I get to make fun of you for an hour every week and 101 people listen in.
It's far better this way. It really is. I'm glad you corrected my my ambitions. Now, it must have been because we've only skipped 1 or 2 weeks a year ago that we started this thing, right?
Yeah.
Where did we go out? What's the name of that place in Clear Lake that we went out to lunch?
The Brickyard.
There you go. That's right. Mm-hmm. I think you promised me a second lunch on that gift card that you had, and I never got it. So
hey, if you come up here, I'll buy you lunch.
Yeah, perfect.
We're becoming meta now, FYI. You are never going to guess what I have in my left hand right now.
I don't know what most of those things meant. I'm never. No. Yeah. What do you have in your left? Oh, there you go. Hey, look at you. You're going to make at least one of our listeners really, really happy.
If you're just listening, I just held up a copy of the DVD Rocky.
You're trying to remedy your deficiencies. That's good.
That's right. So my beloved member walks into Bible study on Thursday and goes, "Here you go." So it made my. It's kind of like you're getting your red Ferrari or whatever model car it was.
Yeah, I have that around here somewhere. It's an orange Porsche.
Oh,
so I said what I in my prayers I might ask for an orange Porsche, but I have to append to that prayer, "Thy will be done and not mine." And then somebody showed up with a Matchbox car the next Sunday. It's great.
Oh, that's incredible. my only critique of getting this movie now is I said this would have been great to get a couple weeks ago because then I could have watched Rocky with my wife on Valentine's Day.
That would have been real good. Yeah, do you think your wife would enjoy watching Rocky? Is she into that kind of film?
No, she already said she wouldn't watch it with me.
Okay. If you were gonna pick a film, a genre, a type of film, maybe name the particular film. You're like, this is gonna be a home run. My wife and I are gonna have a great evening if we sit down and watch this movie. What would it be?
Oh, so the genre definitely would have to be romantic comedy.
Okay.
I would think it'd have to be a rom-com because my favorite movies are slapstick comedies.
Hmm.
I mean, most of the
Dumb
time when
college
people
humor.
text me, yeah, yeah, well, sophisticated dumb college humor.
Okay. Okay.
Most of the time when people text me about the show, it's usually about Nacho Libre and other Jack Black films.
Okay.
So
That's
that
good.
and then my wife likes not like terrible romance movies, but just like the typical um Jane Austen. And there's
Okay.
something admirable about that. So we meet in the middle, and that's rom-com. So like what's that movie with Ryan Reynolds and the Proposal? You know,
Okay.
no? No?
No,
Okay. That's fine.
I do think
I
he's a
can't.
funny guy. Ryan Reynolds is good. But
Yeah. He owns a soccer team, and they
that's
are.
right.
I got to check. Did they win the last round in the FA Cup? I mean, they are like historically good. It's kind of crazy. So that's fun. Oh, by the way, I was a little bit perturbed by this. So obviously we record these a week in advance, but yesterday, our country won the gold medal in like our fifth favorite sport. It's like
And
imagine being
you were
Canadian
perturbed because why?
because the game was at 7 a.m.
Oh, yeah. I saw something that said that Canada had decided for the day to relax their laws about when you can buy liquor, and so that liquor stores could be open at 6 a.m. on Sunday, um, which I believe 100%.
Wow. Now we need to bring Bruce Timm on because we all know he's like, half Canadian essentially.
Basically Canadian, yeah.
So was he? He didn't watch the game because I think he went to church yesterday. But was he a little torn?
Hmm. Yeah. We watched the 12-minute highlight reel afterwards, which has become one of my favorite ways of watching sports. I mean, I don't mind sitting down and watching a whole game at times, but I love highlight reels. It's phenomenal.
Ooh. So that's that's a great comparison. If you had to make like a highlight reel of the Bible, what would that what would that look like?
Okay, how many clips? Let's say you got half a dozen clips.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need the crucifixion and the resurrection,
Is
right?
that is
Let's call
that
that
one
one.
one scene?
Yeah, that's one
Okay.
scene. Okay. Uh, this is going to be interesting. I mean, I think you've got something to do with David, probably David and Goliath, probably David and Goliath.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I'd put I'd put the three men in the fiery furnace in there because then you get exile, you get faithfulness in Babylon, you get right the first commandment, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Probably got to get the flood. Yeah, that's four then. Hmm. This is really interesting. You got anything to contribute? Anything I'm missing here?
Well, I'd say obviously the fall into sin because
Yeah,
that gets you creation as well.
sure. And then probably we need something post resurrection. Um, would it be? Would it be? I mean, Revelation 24, probably.
22.
Whatever that chapter, the last chapter of Revelation. I've
How
read
many
the Bible.
how, how many chapters is Revelation in your Bible?
I
Oh,
mean, I
maybe
read that last bit about adding to it, and I was like, yeah, I think going to keep going.
Well, so you know how the evangelicals have the Acts 29 network or whatever it is, because there's 28 chapters in Acts. So now we're writing the 29th.
Hey,
So are you, so you're past the 23rd chapter of Revelation. We're post apocalypse.
that's right. But I'm still a
How
preterist about it, so it already happened.
it's like, this is how preterist I am. We're 2 chapters beyond it. I was gonna suggest. So I read Hebrews 11 this morning, and that
There you
kind
go.
of seems like a highlight reel.
That's really good. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Yeah. You get this too when, for instance, like Stephen gives his speech. It's a highlight reel. It's great. And in fact, I think that that's a really exemplary thing. Christians should be able to give the highlights. Like if somebody says, "What's this thing about?" You can, without boring them, take them through the highlights.
Right. Well, Jesus does it all the time when because he summarizes Bible stories all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That fits with this question we were talking about earlier about knowing the Bible better than the devil does, right? Uh, which is like, as you said, on the one hand, kind of like not possible because the devil has been studying the scripture since forever. But on the other hand, is possible because he doesn't believe it. It's possible to know the scripture better than the devil, if only because you know that Jesus wins in the end and he somehow doesn't believe it.
Right. So if it's the sword of the Spirit, which
Mm-hmm.
it's described as, the devil can't wield it possibly. Like, so he can't possibly know the actual function of it.
Yeah. Is that how you describe? I mean, that's definitely what's going on in the temptation of Jesus. So he quotes Psalm 91, and he's misusing it. He's misapplying it.
So I had
Whether
I
through
had this,
ignorance or deliberately, but go ahead.
well, I think it's deliberate, but I had the thought yesterday saying the introit, because Psalm 91 is the introit for the first
Uh-huh.
Sunday in Lent. And I was like, this is weird, because we're going to hear the devil say this later. But then on the other hand, I was like, no, actually, this is great, because it teaches us that just because somebody misuses scripture doesn't make it not true. Because what you see at the end of the temptation is the angels do come and protect Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. To keep him from striking his foot against a stone. I'm trying to, that seems to be thematic. Are there other instances of that where somebody's misusing scripture, or like it's like they don't know what they're saying? The example that came to mind, this is not the same thing, but it's something similar. When the Jews say, "His blood be on us and on our children," it's like that's kind of the idea, isn't it? That his blood would be on the world, would cover the world,
Yeah.
But they misunderstand it.
No, that's my favorite one. And then this goes along with Caiaphas's prophecy in John 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that it's
Yeah.
better for one man to die than that the whole nation should suffer. And what he means is, like, politically, but he's making the most profound theological prophecy ever. And John calls it a prophecy because it is. Because Saul prophets, right? Prophesies.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and or Balaam, that's what an interesting guy. To hear him say, like, "Listen, I'm constrained to speak whatever the Lord tells me to speak," but he clearly doesn't believe it. Like he
That's
does,
right.
He's like, "This job stinks."
Well, and where did this guy come from? Because he's a Gentile. I mean, he's like the wise man of the Old Testament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which,
Go ahead.
I I'll get it out of my bag. I'm reading Confucius right now,
Nice.
and like it's really good.
Tell me what's the work? What's the name of the work?
It's called,
Sayings.
Analects.
Okay.
So it's a collection of his sayings that were assembled by his followers shortly after his death.
So proverbial, like it's reminiscent to you of Solomon. Does it vary from that?
Yeah, and there's like conversation going on. Like, one person
Okay.
said this, one person said this. So it reminds me of the whole philosophical tradition, because this is, how Plato writes with Socrates having a conversation. So kind of in that style, a little bit different. But what it reveals to me, Confucius is around 500 BC. So he's before Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, but he's after Solomon. And so and he's in a completely different part of the world. So what it reveals is there is this universal wisdom, right? This natural knowledge. And this is why it's provocative, and I don't always like it, but in The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis calls the universal moral the Tao, and that's from Confucius.
So that fact that there's this universality to it, it's interesting because that's a two-sided what's the way to put it? It's used on both sides of an argument. On the one hand, it's used to say, look, clearly there's a common design and a common root of morality that points to an objective truth from which people have deviated at to various degrees over time, right? So the fact that everybody has this understanding means that there is something there. There's a there. That's one. That'd be the Christian argument, right? How do we obtain that truth? The other side, and I heard this just recently, was the claim that, look, see, all religions are true because you can see this commonness among them, right? Which I mean, it's such shallow thinking, isn't it? Because they're mutually contradictory in the end, right? The application of that universal principle is very often contradictory among the religions.
Well, especially if they make exclusive claims like Christianity does.
Yes. So do you think, does Confucius make exclusive claims about his philosophy?
Oh, that's a good question. I admittedly am not that very far in. I'm just fascinated with the editor's introduction.
Okay.
So I'll let you know more on that. It doesn't seem, it just, he's describing what the good life looks like. So what does it mean to be a gentleman? And I mean, his system sounds pretty good. So obviously, like, the main problem with it is that it's Christless. So of course this isn't going to give you salvation. Okay, that's true, and that's like the big deal. But if our government actually operated according to what he's describing as the government actually is a moral agent, and the only way they're going to be good is if they actually care about the people. I would trade that for what we have in an instant.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it's like Stoicism in that way, that there's this insight that is absolutely true, and in suppressing that truth, unrighteousness can abound. But it's not the whole truth. It's just a part of it, right?
Yeah. And Doug Wilson always says that all truth is God's truth. So if it's true, hey, this is great. So I see why C.S. Lewis liked him so much, and that's what's grinding my gears. But we're not at the end of the episode. That just fit in thematically.
What's going on here?
I know. I was trying to figure it out because Genesis 48 is probably not on your highlight reel.
It has become more. I've become more fond of it. It's a short chapter, and at first glance, I didn't think there was much going on here. But the reason why it would make a highlight reel is because it's got this dramatic irony in that Jacob, is imposing on Manasseh and Ephraim the same thing that he wrestled out of his father's hand, the blessing for the younger son, right? So it's a recapitulation in a way of Isaac's blessing of Jacob and then Esau, but there are these variations that are significant, right? So the father is doing it willingly. They both have dim eyes, right? They both have dim eyes. Isaac's dim eyes are reflective of his dim heart, whereas Israel's dim eyes do not take it all away from his clarity of heart, right? He knows who's going to be the greater and who's going to be the lesser.
You're right, because Isaac, when he's blessing the younger, thinks he's actually blessing the older, but it's really emphasized. Jacob says, I know, right? But this is, so when I was reminiscing on this theme, I wrote replacement theory, question mark.
Okay.
I mean, do you know what that is?
Yeah, now we're getting banned from YouTube. Way to go.
Okay, well, I don't mean it in that way, but it's the idea that the younger son like always replaces the older son. And of course we've seen this throughout, but now finally the father is buying into it. But what's really fascinating is This gets replaced. This gets reversed again and again throughout the Old Testament. So Ephraim's supposed to be the shining light, and at times they are, right? Joshua, my namesake, he's from Ephraim, so certainly plays that out. But then they, man, Book of Judges, Ephraim's awful. The Psalms, they get lambasted, and the prophets, they're supposed to be the leader of the Northern Kingdom, but they're no good, and it's so bad that they get omitted in the listing in Revelation 7.
Yeah. Well, Jeroboam, who is dividing the kingdom. Although, I mean, he was given this opportunity. It's such a great narrative because God's like, I'm taking it away from Solomon's son, and you can have it all if you will be faithful to me. And Jeroboam's like, yeah, let's build 2 golden calves and let's move the festivals to the 8th month so that nobody goes to Jerusalem. And then all of the sins of the subsequent kings are compared to sin of Jeroboam. It's like that, and he's an Ephraimite. That's what Ephraim got you.
And the Ephraimites. So I skipped over Judges. This is like your favorite story, right? Because you're all about Gideon. It's the so the Ephraimites with Gideon complain that they weren't invited to fight, and Gideon's really gracious with them and gets them to calm down. But then they do the same thing with Jephthah a few chapters later, and Jephthah he kills them all, and that's the genesis of the Shibboleth legend. And I say legend. I say it that way because that's what we use to say a mispronunciation, right? How many people who use that term actually know the the story in the Bible?
That's interesting because I was just thinking it's related. I was trying to look up the other day a term. I was trying to figure out the right term to use for something. I was like, well, those tribes that are on the east side of the Jordan River, they're called the Trans-Jordan tribes. Ephraim and whatever. I always get it confused, like Gad and half tribe of Manasseh. That's right, something like that. And I was like, well, what do you call the tribes on the other side, on the correct side of the Jordan? You know what you call them? The Cisjordan tribes.
No way.
Because cis means like this side or something like that. And I was at first I was like, Google's messing with me here. I was like, this is some sort of a joke. and now I wonder, because like that's one of the prime uses of that term, cis versus trans, is to describe this side versus that side of the Jordan River.
Huh. Okay. Well, so this makes total sense because people are finally learning Greek with everybody's preferred sexuality, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. We've been saying homo for a long time, except we've said it as homoousios, and that's really important. So
that's right. Now, did anybody ever use the term heterousios? I mean,
nope. It was just homoousios, right? That was the heresy.
Right. You'd have to be really far out there to use heterousios. These would be, non-Christians.
Well, and Unitarian or non-Trinitarian, right? But altogether, yeah. Because for our listeners, homoousios means the same substance. Homo, same substance, and homoousios means similar substance, and that was the whose heresy was that?
Arius.
That was Arius. Was that his articulation of it? Was homoousios? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this is one Council of Nicaea. This is one instance where the Yoda does have to disappear.
Yeah, that's right.
And then everybody knows that pan means all now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Huh. That's good. There's something positive coming from all the nonsense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, vocabulary, very, very important. We define the terms. Anything? Oh, you want to talk about? Let's get to right hand, left hand in a second. Did you notice the word blessing appeared 6 times in this chapter? I mean, it's just
I did not notice that.
Really,
Let's see
really
here.
emphasized. So
where does that begin?
So it's verse 3, and then 9, 15, 16, and twice in verse 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So what's this emphasis on blessing? And we haven't really had that before. we haven't had somebody to give a blessing. I mean, Jacob starts in the previous chapter by blessing Pharaoh, and now he's coming into his office as paterfamilias, giving blessings, right?
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to reclaim this, because it's a little bit cringe, right? This is kind of the evangelical thing. It's like I'm just going around blessing everybody, and that kind of makes you uncomfortable, right? But it's true. At least it should be.
Yeah. Well, so I think about the potency of blessings, in the hands, for instance, of Isaac, who, when he gives a blessing to Jacob, cannot revoke it or give then the same thing to Esau, right? He understood his word of blessing to be potent, not mere wishful thinking, but actually effective. And that's hard to come by, that kind of certainty in a blessing that you might give, you know? Um, I don't know that, I mean, you would need a prophetic office, essentially, right? In order to do that kind of blessing.
Do you think how much of your pastoral visits do you think about because our district president Brady Fittern talked about this on the line. He ends all of his meetings with a biblical blessing, and I really like that. Like it's how we end our services, right?
Yes. So help me understand the distinction here. Because there's a grammatical distinction. The Lord bless you and keep you. It's an imperative. It's a third person imperative, right? The Lord bless you and keep you. So you're invoking God's name to do something which is categorically different from a prayer. Lord, please do this thing, right? Which requires something different. In order to take up that mode of speech, it requires something different. So the Aaronic benediction in number 6, there's the biblical warrant for giving that blessing. Like, we know this is what God wants to do for his people. He wants to bless them and make his face shine upon them and be gracious to them, right? We know he wants to do that. And so you can apply that to people unequivocally. And that maybe that's simply the distinction, is like a blessing is a prayer that has no uncertainty attached to it. You know,
Hmm.
maybe that's the way to put it.
Yeah, I think it's good. Well, there's a distinction between blessing and prayer, but they go together because "Let us bless the Lord" is a constant refrain in the Psalms, and then also we say that at the end of the service, just before just before the Aaronic benediction.
Mhm.
And then the response is "Thanks be to God." So that's the blessing of the Lord, right? That when we do it is giving thanks to God.
Yeah. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Remember all his benefits. Forget not his wondrous deeds. So blessing the Lord um, is amounts to thanksgiving and receiving his blessings, right? Remembering his blessings.
So in what way is the Lord blessed by that? Because this is such an alien way to talk. It's like does God need our thanksgiving? So I was thinking about a definition for blessing. Would it be simply like the fulfillment or bringing something to its intended end? Is that what blessing is? So like be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what you could test that definition by saying, is a curse thwarting the intended end of a thing? That makes sense, right? So a curse upon the land makes it not fruitful, right? It doesn't reach its intended end. A blessing upon the land makes it fruitful. So it does what it's meant to do. Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, I think so in terms of blessing the Lord, there's so much tied up in his name being made known. So when you recount his wondrous deeds, it's not like this is always how I talk about a Bible study. It's not like God's like, no, I want you to please say more nice things about me. It makes me feel better when you say nice things about me. But when you say nice things about God, other people hear it and believe. So he's
Hmm.
glorified. He is fulfilling his ontology when people know who he is.
That was great.
I was going to say purpose or design, but of course those words don't work. So it has to just be essence. He is who he is when people know who he is.
So on the converse, it's blasphemy when you don't bless the Lord, right? Because you're
Yes.
actually yeah, Nathan says to David, "You have given God's enemies a reason to blaspheme."
Yes. Yeah. Right. Speaking lies about him. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. So the end, like if you as insofar as he has revealed it to us, the telos of God is that everyone would know that he is God, and believe and trust in him, and that only happens when his name is proclaimed. Right.
Hmm.
It happens through the proclamation of his name. Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk about right hand, left hand?
Okay. So he wants to put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, and Joseph tries to move it. Okay. Right hand, left hand. What you got?
And the gesture. I mean, he's making a cross with his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, on the first hand, it's like it's very awkward. Like, oh, come over here, and he's doing this, but he realizes there's something going on, and obviously, you trace the right hand throughout all of Scripture, and it culminates with Jesus being at the right hand of the Father.
Yeah. It's a kingly royal position for sure. Yeah. What is it?
Yeah,
In Latin, right is something like dexter, and left is sinister. I think those are the Latin words for right and left.
you ever watch Dexter's Laboratory?
No, I did not.
Oh, well, so I wasn't privileged with cable either, so we didn't have
Okay.
Cartoon Network. But the greatest thing in the world is going on vacation and getting to stay in a hotel for a night, and then they've got Nickelodeon, so you get to watch SpongeBob finally as a kid.
It says so much about our lives that you go to a hotel to watch TV. It's like,
I know.
I mean, it's true. It's like this is a universal experience. I think to go swim in that tiny little swimming pool and watch TV
So so
in bed.
first night of our honeymoon, we went up to Duluth. Very, very lovely hotel right on Lake Superior. And we had just driven, several hours to get up there. So like let's relax for the night. I think we might have gone out for dinner that night, and then we're like, let's watch a movie. I think we watched The Proposal, the movie I brought up to you. So see, it's all coming full circle. And we ordered room service food. It was a third party thing. It was fried ravioli, and it was not very good.
Mm.
But I have very fond memories of it because it's like first night of our honeymoon, and we're just relaxing, and there's a hot tub in the so just taking a nice relaxing hot tub and eating disgusting ravioli and
Eating fried ravioli. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
those are core memories that have been formed for you. Nice.
yep, they are. I don't really know if that has anything to do with anything, but
I don't think it does, but that's okay. Dexter's Laboratory. Right hand, left hand.
oh yes,
Okay, so
DD, get out of my laboratory is what I was going for.
okay,
That's the line. No, okay, you
lost on
disappoint
me.
me.
Somebody's gonna give me a DVD of Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh man, that'd be great. They got to have the whole box set. I don't know how many seasons it was, but whatever. Okay, so um right hand. Oh, so Jesus says, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And I don't think these are incidental um markers. As in, he could have just said,
Huh.
like, don't let one hand know what the other hand is doing. Now, if we're gonna
Yeah,
if we're gonna impose the medieval right hand left hand distinction on this, which maybe that's a little bit anachronistic, but I don't think it's entirely inappropriate. So the right hand kingdom's the church. So the church, don't let the civil authorities know what you're doing.
yeah. So I don't know that history. I never thought about where that distinction, where the labeling of that distinction comes from. It's from medieval scholastics. They say are they getting it from Jesus in Matthew 6? Is that where it comes from?
Well, it's got to come from somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
'cause you see it right here, right? The right hand is the superior hand because most
Hmm.
people are right-handed. So it's entirely biblical. I don't know the patristic usage of it, but I mean, because that
I'm
becomes a
looking it
big
up right
point
now.
for Luther. Well, yeah, good. Let me know.
Um, Luther develops this sheep on the right, goats on the left. That's what
Oh, okay.
Google's saying. Yeah.
Well, that I mean that makes sense. But then what you're doing if you only use that, you're condemning the left-hand kingdom.
Well, and I mean, Luther would, I think he probably would say something effectively like, um, the not condemnation, but there's a finitude to it that it's just like it's you are not subject to it, right? The church and Christians owe nothing to the governing authorities as such. They only owe something to it as God, because it's from God, right?
Oh, sure.
So it is a
Okay.
kind of condemnation. Yeah.
But on the other hand, you get some great lefty stories. You know, Bruce Timm is left-handed, and he would be quick to point out all the Benjaminites who are left-handed, who of course their name means son of my right hand. So that's hilarious.
Yeah. And then Eglon, was it Eglon? Or was
Eglon's
he
the
the guy
fat
who gets the
he's the
fat
fat
guy? Yeah.
he's the fat guy. It's Ehud.
Okay. Uh, you got more about left and right? Otherwise, I have a question for you.
Other than to say that Jesus Christ ruling at the right hand of the Father means that he is in total domination over the universe. His enemies have been made his footstool. So that's where this is headed. But that's all I got.
Did you ever see those pictures of Rafael Nadal and how much bigger one of his arms was than the other? Did you ever see those?
No, are you an avid tennis fan?
I'm not. But if you look at pictures, his left arm, his bicep is like twice as big as his right arm. Um, it's really funny. But I
Yeah,
don't know if that's because he uh, overtrained it or if he's got something else going on.
So, because is he right-handed?
He is right-handed, but he, I don't know, worked on his left arm a lot. I'm not sure.
Oh, his left arm is way bigger than his right?
Yeah,
So I don't because I we got to get a tennis expert on here. I mean, I'd imagine then is his backhand just like legendary then?
that seems to be what. Yeah, I would think so.
Oh, okay, great. Another connection then, and I've read this in patristics, so I think it's totally valid. Jesus says if somebody slaps you on the right cheek, right, turn to
Okay.
the other cheek, and so this isn't so much about physical violence as if so because if you get slapped on the right cheek, what it is it's a backhand because presuming that most people are right-handed. So what it is an insulting, it's an insulting kind of a gesture.
Yeah, it's not about you can't defend yourself from physical violence. It's bear the insult, right?
Yeah, despite what some followers of Stanley Hauerhaus might say, self defense is fine. Hey, you brought it up. Actually, I did.
Okay, so there's this note here. Let's see. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be. This is verse 19. Greater than he, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations. And the footnote says, or wait a minute, it's the footnotes for verse 16. Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Right. This is the blessing given to Ephraim. Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And it says, let them be like the fish for multitude in the midst of the earth. I wish that it hadn't been left out because that's an evocative image, right? Which of course connects us to 153 in John, like the fish of the sea, swarming fish of the sea.
Yeah, absolutely. And so next time we're gonna talk about all the tribes, and you see the northern tribes being the way of the sea, right? And so that totally fits hand in hand. That's great. I never realized that until you pointed that out. Yeah, the footnotes right there. I was reading John 2 with during premarital counseling, and my folks had the NLT, and I'm trying to get them off of it, but this was my diving off point. So at some point maybe we'll do John, but John 2:1 says on the third day, right? Famously. Right, that's how it begins. The NLT translates it as on the next day. And I blew my lid. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And of course there's a footnote in the NLT, and what it says is Greek on the third day. But it's like why didn't you just translate it then? What the Greek clearly says is that hard to understand because it's trying to be a more dynamic translation, which there is validity to trying to put it into easier language for the people. Okay, fine, I get it. But is on the third day really that much harder to understand than the next day?
Yeah, that's good. And so there's a limit there that tends to be regularly disregarded. This bothered me always, even um, about just like the translation of participles in general. It's like there's always meaning that is added in the English translation. Like you get these long lists of here are the different uses of a participle, but you don't like just translate the participle, right? He going to the store bought some bread. It's awkward in English, it's true, but like when you when you infer a meaning to that participle, you necessarily exclude other possible meanings, right? Which is what's happening with that on the next day too. You know?
Oh, sure. So to that point, maybe this is going the opposite direction you wanted to. I This one's always confused me. Great Commission, famously a participle, right? Go
Yeah.
make disciples. And people are like, oh, well, like there's some profound theological statement because it's a participle. It's not actually an imperative, so it's better translated as you are going. Oh, well, okay, what is that like? What does that even mean? That's just like I don't know what to do with that. And here's why I actually think no, there is an imperative sense to a participle at times because it is the same exact verb that Herod uses when he tells the wise men to go to Bethlehem. And do you think Herod is saying, well, as you guys are, just kind of going along, kind of tell me when you find them. It's like Herod's not making a suggestion. Like he's telling him, go.
Yeah. Right. So you do have to supply something in cases like that catches the drift, and right. So going, make disciples of all nations. That's where like just like the plain. I know this is not ever going to be acceptable, and there's reasons not to do it. But like just translating it as a plain participle actually does kind of capture that. Going, like if you say while you are going, that implies kind of like, well, when you're on your way, right? But if you just say going, make disciples of all nations, it really does. Like you can hear it. I think.
I don't yeah, I don't have a problem with that, but I mean translation always involves interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So
Hey, oh,
unavoidable.
do you, can you tell me about the hermeneutics debate? I don't get it. What are we arguing about in
You
the
mean
Missouri
like
Synod? Like James Veltz and
presently?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. What's
okay.
the deal? Like it
Oh,
just seems like we're using a bunch of words to say that things mean things.
good. So this is what I gathered from Veltz's interview with Tim Allman. Veltz wrote a book. His book has been around for a long time. What does this mean? And he wrote kind of a lay version of it. And in it, he describes basic communication theory that says the words on the page mean things, and that's an important part of interpretation. That's first level interpretation. And then the images described by those words also mean things. That's second level interpretation. And then the act of writing itself means something, and that's third level interpretation, right? So, um, you might have the account of the Jerusalem Council. Well, the words tell you specifically these are the things that they forbade and the things that they allowed, right? So we know what those are. And then there's another layer, which is kind of like, well, why is blood significant in that way? Okay, so there's another layer of interpretation. And then there's the layer of like, well, why did Luke write this event down at all? Right? Level 3. And um, that seems just like plain to me. That doesn't seem all that complicated. There's levels of interpretation, and things mean things. Like stuff has meaning. um, And in fact, we know from the outset that creation has meaning, right? Every created thing has meaning. Like the stars are meaningful. They're not just big gassy balls of fire, right? They have meaning. But it seems like part of the trouble was when Veltz says, for instance, that the meaning might change from hearer to hearer. And by that, he doesn't mean that there's no objective, as far as I can gather, that there's no objective, grounded, true meaning, but that the information that you bring to your interpretation might well change your interpretation. So, for instance, his example was if you're Ken Bailey and you spent time with the whatever the nomads in the Middle East, things that a guy from the upper Midwest doesn't know. And so the meaning that he derives from the text is different from the meaning that you'll derive from the text. There's still a true objective meaning, but it changes from reader to reader. And I think maybe that's the thing that is most alarming to folks, the idea that there's this kind of reader response criticism going on. And maybe there's a better way to say it. Like maybe there's a better way for Velth to say it, but I wouldn't presume, like, I don't know, you know, I don't know. I do think that there's a lot of value. We didn't have a hermeneutics class when I was at Fort Wayne. They had just ended it prior to my coming there. And it is easy, seems to me, really, really easy to play fast and loose with interpretation. Like it's the easiest thing in the world to say, this means, right? It's like that rolls off the tongue, no problem. And you can say it without adhering to any particular standards because all you have to do is draw a connection. This is basically, by the way, what I believe is happening in paleontology. Like here's this fragment of bone, and this means it's like, well, yeah, you can tell, just because you can tell a story that makes it seem like those two things are connected doesn't mean that that's actually what that means, right?
Are we ever going to be able to fix that hermeneutical divide? Because this has been going on since antiquity. I mean, this is the old Alexandria versus what's the other city in Syria? You got the Alexandrian school of interpretation, which is Origin, right? So they're the typological, and then you've got the
Cappadocia?
no,
No,
no, no, not
I don't know.
Cappadocia.
I don't know these
No,
things.
well, versus I'm
Carthage,
embarrassed. No, it's um,
Bithynia.
it's a big. Where was Oh gosh, this is why you need Joe Mensch. Oh, did you see that? So yesterday, big Mexican drug lord was killed, and his nickname was El Mencho.
That's good.
And I thought, I know that guy. No. Oh, this is gonna bug me. Oh, Antioch, of course. I
Oh,
knew it
of
was two. I
course.
knew it was
Yeah,
two
I
A's.
mean,
Yeah, this is.
I thought it was too obvious. That's why I didn't say it.
Oh yeah, sure. Save it. But this is like baked into our debating, and you see it even in our exegetical department. It's like this pattern still follows true. Are you going to read the book typologically, or are you just going to stick with the letters and you mean like only read it literally and not attribute any more meaning to it, which is the most boring thing in the world, but it is conservative.
Well, the concern about skipping the step, it seems to me, the concern about skipping the step of understanding what the words actually mean is a legitimate concern. And in fact, this is a problem just with like human intelligence generally. I think about how, like I'm teaching my kids to read, how easy it is for them to not pay attention to the words, to not ask the question, wait a minute, what does this word actually mean? Right. So the concern about skipping that step, I think, is well grounded, well founded. But once you've done that work, um, I too think that I have the Spirit of God and can apply the text. I can apply what the words mean in lots of different ways. Right.
So I for whatever reason yesterday, I opened up my Robert Preuss Lutheran Orthodox Fathers Volume 2. Great set, by the way. Need to just sit down and read through the whole thing. And for whatever reason, the page I turned to, there was a quote, and I think it had the word taciturn on it. And whoever had the book before me underlined it in pencil and then gave me the Latin roots of that word. And I was like, man, this is some. So whoever had this book before me was an engaged reader.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That reminds me of the opening complaint that Lewis has at the beginning of um I always forget the name of the book about the Tao. What's the name of the book? I always
Abolition of
forget it.
Man.
Abolition of Man is this the scene that's described where there's somebody um who's describing a waterfall as sublime, and can't remember the name of the poet, who's delighted to hear that that's the word that was used, and agrees, yes, that's the right word for the situation. Whereas there's somebody else there who says, yeah, it's really pretty. and like he's losing his mind or something because the words matter, because the words actually matter. Um, I had a professor in German. Here's some German for you. A professor in Germany who always said, "Nehmen Sie die Wörter im Ernst." Take the words seriously, and it's true. It's like but you think
How's
about
how can you take the word seriously when it sounds like that?
it makes you take it seriously. The guy was great.
Oh, okay. I'll take your word for it.
But this goes full circle back to the devil. It's like that is like sloppy exegesis. There is such a thing as sloppy exegesis, and the problem with it is that it can sound very pious. It can sound right.
Sure. Okay. I'll take heed. Meanwhile,
By
let's
the way, just one other thing about that, real quick, about the devil and Psalm 91. I forgot to mention this when we were talking about that, but it's kind of interesting. I always took that temptation to throw yourself down as a test of whether or not God actually loves you. Here, God said He would do this. Put His promise to the test, and you'll succeed. And I was reading, I can't remember the name of the book, but just comments on the 1-year lectionary, and the German Lutheran author said was framing it as a temptation to ambition, so that if Jesus threw himself off the temple and survived the fall, he would gain this glory for being kind of a Superman. Which was interesting. I'd never really thought of it that way before. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, right? Anyways,
well,
interesting, and a
you
completely different
missed
take than anything I ever thought of.
you missed another golden opportunity to use another German word on the podcast.
Go ahead.
You want to say it? No, Superman.
Oh, I do not want to say it.
Oh, come on, Ubermensch.
All right.
Joe Ubermensch. He's getting way too much love on the podcast today.
I know. We
I'm
should
gonna
probably have him
take
back on.
I'm gonna
Go
take
ahead.
what you said and just completely disregard it. Let's talk typologically about Bethlehem in verse 7.
Okay. So first of all, what does the word mean?
House of bread. And what is Joseph providing for the entire world at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Egypt has become a kind of house of bread, hasn't it? Because of Joseph's ministry there.
Now, what's the etymology for Ephrath?
Hmm.
This looks like it means to be fruitful.
Okay.
So
On the way to
they go. I mean,
Ephrath.
that's what a house of bread is, right? Because wheat's a fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So we know what it means, and he's telling us this because he's claiming Joseph's sons as his own because his wife died on the way to Bethlehem. All right. Go ahead and typologize.
So you have another mother, Mary, who is going to make it to Bethlehem, and that's the great reversal. And Matthew's clearly playing with this in Matthew 2, right? With the Egyptian slaughter of the innocents, Rachel crying for her children because they are no more.
Yeah.
So this gets recapitulated, but also reversed in the Gospels. And it's interesting to see where Ephrathah gets brought up, because it gets brought up all the time in the Psalms. So there's always this movement happening between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. So Psalm 132 would be the
Found in the
place.
fields of JR. Okay.
Yeah, verse 6. We heard of it in Ephrathah, which of course is Bethlehem. And what's the movement in Psalm 132 dealing with David, one of your highlight reels? You're going from Bethlehem, moving the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem.
Okay. Which, of course, I mean, the connection to David has to be there because Ruth bears a child in Ephrathah, raising up offspring for Naomi. Yeah.
So not a whole lot to add, other than the fact that like God's got the geography figured out way
Yeah.
earlier than we ever did.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the Hebrew here. Rat. Okay.
Can I get a soundtrack of you pronouncing Hebrew words that I could fall
Mm-hmm.
asleep to?
Yeah.
We're gonna so big listener announcement. We're coming up with a Patreon, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, Pastor Buchs will send you a recording of him uttering Hebrew gutturals.
I was thinking some swag would be good, or merch. Merch would be the better word for it. That's what it'll be. It'll be on a CD. I'll burn it onto a CD and send it to you.
Great. Does it come with a jewel case?
I have a stack of jewel cases from 1997 still to use. So
Perfect.
no, I don't think they're
Vintage.
virtual. Yeah, there we are.
One more thematic thing you see in verse 15 is that Jacob describes God as his shepherd.
Yeah, that litany there of names for Jacob or for God is interesting, right? God, he's a shepherd and an angel, right? The angel who has redeemed me.
Which has got to be a reference to him wrestling with God,
You would
right?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, that's another one to obviously trace through the scriptures. And so, I mean, David, right? Psalm 23 is gonna, of course, call the Lord his shepherd. So, isn't this nice? We've put the Bible all together. See, this is the only way to do hermeneutics. Because too often when you discuss hermeneutics, it's so bland because it's like, what are we talking about? Like, let's talk some. You can't do hermeneutics without the actual text.
Yes. What is it? I mean, it's like so many artistic endeavors where you do have to know some basic rules. You have to know the basic rules, but then at some point, like the act of interpretation involves disregarding the rules. It's like, to be a good artist, you have to know how to do the technical things and you have to know the conventions. But then the thing that makes for greatness is actually when you kind of uh, when you break the convention. Um,
Which is actually I don't think it's disregarding it. It's actually a fulfillment of it because
sure.
you
Yeah.
still need the rule there, but
Mhm.
you're doing something completely different with it.
Which is related then is like how you read so much of scripture that is repetitive. It's like, well, the repetition is really important, and you don't get to say that it's boring because God put it there. But you should also pay close attention to the things that break the pattern, right? That's what you should be looking for.
Yeah.
What's unusual and strange? By the way, this blessing, the God who has been my shepherd all my life to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil. That's something we should teach people to say on their deathbed. You know,
Hmm.
God, like to describe God in that way, beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So
Hey,
besides
anything?
Confucius, what are you reading?
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of a schnob. I just got a collection of T.S. Eliot poems, and I'm trying to become sophisticated, but I feel so attacked reading the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock because here I am pretending to be sophisticated, and there's this one line um, at the beginning of the poem that gets repeated. It's like in the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo, and I feel that way in the podcast because I'm just name dropping, all these neo-orthodox theologians, and I am not sophisticated in the least.
It's okay. We know that you're not fooling anybody.
That's great. And I meant to bring it up probably a couple weeks ago. There is this massive New Yorker article a couple weeks ago about surrogacy, and it's essentially unregulated in the United States. It's kind of a state thing. California is super unregulated, so it's a wild wilderness out there. You can do anything you want, and the story follows a Chinese man and his assistant, and they're presenting themselves as a couple. They actually started a surrogacy agency, and then they hire these women to bear children for this man, and they don't reveal that they're the owners of the company. They're like, we're going to match you with somebody to pay you to bear their child. Meanwhile, they match them with themselves, don't reveal it. And then their biography says, we have only got one kid. We really want to supply a sibling for them. The truth is, they've had children now, I think 25 to 30 children via surrogacy, and it's completely legal.
What's the is it trafficking? Is that the end result of it, or what's
Well, so like, I mean, I would think so, but his claim is that he just wants to have a bunch of kids. I mean, you see this with really rich people. So like
yeah?
Elon Musk, right, has is it 15 children? I don't know the number, but he's gone on record as saying the birth rate's too low, so I'm going to do my part in providing But so here's the thing. This is what the devil does, right? It's good to bear children, right? Like that's being fruitful. That's
Mhm,
great. But apart from marriage, like what you're completely distorting it, and this is not a
mhm.
this is not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you are yeah, the fatherhood of the devil is what it is, right? So it's the birthing of lies. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and these children. I mean, you really feel for them because they're just watched by a professional babysitter all day, and no real emotive connection to the woman who gave them birth or their biological father.
Yeah, that's interesting because there is, even among pagans, even among non-Christians, there is baked in this natural affection for children that resembles God. I mean, Jesus refers to it as reflective of his fatherly care and compassion. And in such a case, you're robbing kids even of that, even of natural parental affection, which is not enough, right? They need more, but you're robbing them even of that,
Yeah, so if Jesus says, "If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children," what would he say
right?
of parents who don't know how to give good gifts to their children?
Right. Right. Oof.
Huh, yeah, what's grinding your gears?
I'm revisiting the Christian Counselor's Manual here, Jay Adams.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just brushing up on a few things, and I love how simple everything is to him. He says, um, the sophisticated Freudian or behavioristic theories that now seem so conveniently plausible and that are used to justify and excuse men of their responsibility to God will be shown to be futile and false. And I was thinking about that, about how quick we are to absolve people of responsibility. And of course, there's this whole thing about victim shaming, right? So you don't want to blame people for things that they're not responsible for, but that like keeping people from that responsibility, like keeping people from feeling shame or guilt for things that they ought not to, actually only does them good if they also feel shame and guilt over things that they should, right? If they take responsibility for themselves. So like if you're absolved of responsibility for everything, I think you're actually probably in a worse shape than if you understand, if you're confused about what you're responsible for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the biblical thing would be Second Corinthians godly grief versus worldly grief. Like you should have
Right.
godly grief.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Ignoring the Holy Spirit or avoiding the use of scriptures in counseling is tantamount to an act of autonomous rebellion. It's so good. And what I love about him is he's like, um, uh, so much counseling is designed to keep you in counseling, right?
Oh, sure.
Where's the success in counseling that never ends? So his whole model is that we should see behavioral change, and for those who have the Spirit of God, it's possible. And the only thing that gets in the way is a stubborn, hard heart. And the remedy for that is not more counseling. The remedy for that is repentance. So, I mean, it's incredibly simple, and I think it's really, really important. That's that's my take.
Yeah, good. I generally like it's called nouthetic counseling, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's helpful. And then from a secular perspective, I sometimes people just want more because they just need to be told something like concretely what to do. I think there are some benefits to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I need to do some like more reading on it. I'm not a CBT therapist or anything like that. The only thing I know about it is reading through like the coddling of the American mind. Um, but it's like simple tricks you can do. So if I tell you don't think of a pink elephant, we've used this example I think before on the podcast.
mhm,
Like think
yeah,
think of a think of a blue elephant. And there's just something worldly wisdom about that. But I think you're right. Like getting to the core of the issue um, is the most important part.
yeah. I mean, it's a question of the will, which is the question. So Scott Adams. I was reading Scott Adams' book, Reframe Your Brain, and I mean, it's really simple stuff. And he's like, this is not complicated, guys. If you stop talking about alcohol as being like fun and necessary to a good evening, but instead every time you think about alcohol, you say alcohol is poison, you will just change the way you think about it. It'll just change the way you regard it. And that's cognitive behavioral therapy, right? That's what it is, right? So you um, understand how your mind works, and you exercise your reason to master your mind. But the problem is you can't do that unless you want to. So how are you going to solve that problem of like, no, I want to do bad things. Who can solve that problem? Right. And the only remedy, this is what's so harrowing. I mean, it's like, this is like brutally harrowing. The only remedy that the world has at its disposal and that most people find at their disposal is threats. And threats in the end lead to an increase of the sin, right? That's what it results. So it's like you might stop the behavior, but the will becomes hardened. That's the way it works. So our incapacity to actually change the human will is devastating. That's a devastating blow to humanity.
Did I tell you about Origen's fantastic insight on the hardening of Pharaoh's heart?
Uh-uh.
So he goes, okay, hardening of Pharaoh's heart, the source of the heat, the hardening, is the same for everybody. Like, that's God. So you picture the sun, everybody experiences that, but wax and clay respond in two fundamentally different ways to the same heat. And the problem with Pharaoh is that he's more like clay, so that when the heat comes, he just gets hardened and hardened and hardened. But wax, of course, it melts and you can reform it. So that solved something for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think what part and parcel of that is like, this is why the heat needs to come, because otherwise you don't know, like, the tested genuineness of faith. Like, it has to be tested, has to be put through the fire. Yeah. And I mean, and this is the counsel for Christians. It's like, it's why Peter, it's why James, it's why, Paul, they all talk about rejoicing and valuing trials when they come, because you otherwise you won't know. Essentially, you won't know what you've got.
Yeah. Now, am I bad for this? Any kind of counseling I do now, I just think, okay, the key to being a better person is to be a better Christian. So we're just gonna like sit down and read the Bible, and then I'm just gonna explain basic terms to you. And if you understand these terms, then your problem will somehow get fixed.
Yeah, no, that's my basic, my first assignment for just about anybody is usually like, you're going to sit down, and if it's, a group of people, a family, you're going to sit down and you're going to read the Bible together every day for the next week. And if you come back next week and you told me you didn't do it, I'm like, well, that's a fundamental problem. That's a more fundamental problem than whatever it is you're wrestling with. You've
Yeah,
got
because
to
you
do
can go
that.
to yeah, because you can go to anybody, and so I'm thinking about like premarital counseling. Anybody will tell you, "Oh, just communicate." Well, like, thanks. Did you really need like the pastor to tell you that?
Mhm. Right. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, just practically speaking, like, it makes sense. It's awfully hard to sin, much harder to sin when you're reading the Bible. Maybe the way to put it is, it's much easier to sin when you're not reading the Bible. How about that?
So when your thoughts are God's thoughts, He actually changes your mind. He gives you a new will. There is a radical thought, right?
Yeah,
God
that's
God bless
exactly it.
God bless Heath Curtis for actually saying it. I've heard it in multiple sermons of his where he's like, "Guys, you have a new will now. We can do better."
That's right. Yeah. All
I need
right. Well,
to send
excellent.
him an email.
Very good.
Great. Yeah.
We should get him
Thank
on. That'd be fun to have him on.
That'd be fun. I was thinking about sending him an email and saying, "Pastor Heather, would you please come on the podcast?" But I don't know if that's going to go over so well. So
You're probably not close enough to him to play that joke. So,
maybe we'll find out.
okay. All right. We'll report the results next week. All right. I'm hitting
All
stop.
right. See ya.